What are some disturbing facts about outer space? Story 1. The fact that extragalactic stars exist. These are stars that exist outside galaxies within extragalactic space. How they got there is through various means, but the fact of the matter is, imagine if there is an alien civilization living in a system with planets orbiting a star, and that is their only star that exists to them, because the galaxies are so far away. Not to mention the way they would view the universe would be so different as well. There was a Kurzgesagt video about how the Milky Way and Andromeda galaxies would one day fuse into Milkdromeda, and the expansion of the universe would eventually pull every other galaxy away until they were speeding away faster than the speed of light. Milkdromeda would then be alone in a cosmic void, and any civilization that arose after that era would have no idea about the rest of the universe, as there would be no physically possible way to observe it. We live in a golden age of astronomy, where we can still see an enormous observable universe filled with other things. Story 2. We're missing something massive about black holes, and we don't know what it is. Yes, intentional pun. Basically, we have a bunch of theories about black holes, right? There's just one big problem. While those theories explain the small black holes we see, they don't explain the really, really big ones. For those to exist on the timetable our science has figured out, they'd all be older than the existing universe. So either we're wrong about how black holes form and grow, or there are a bunch of observed black holes older than the Big Bang. Somehow, it gets worse. For our theories to be correct, we should also be finding black holes all along the size and age scale, from small to consume chunks of galaxies. But we're not. There's just the little baby ones, the massive ones that, again, appear to be older than the universe, and nothing in between anywhere we can see. That's like finding baby alligators in the lake and fully grown alligators, but nothing else. It doesn't make sense. Something about black holes we've figured out doesn't make sense. And where are all these giant black holes coming from? If by all our understanding they couldn't possibly exist, Kurzgesagt has a video on it. Eye-opening. Story 3. Rogue planets. There are trillions of them in the galaxy roaming interstellar space. One could just fall into the solar system at any time and completely disrupt Earth's orbit, ending life as we know it. They are completely invisible and probably wouldn't be detected until well past the orbit of Neptune. The good news is that space is so unimaginably huge that even that many rogue planets is basically a rounding error for the emptiness between stars. Once they get close enough to the sun, they will reflect light. Sometimes that we have missed seeing comets, but that is because they are very small. I find it hard to believe we would miss Jupiter while it was around Pluto. They aren't black hole type invisible, just very difficult to spot because they don't emit light from a nearby star. Story 4. Well, this is the opposite of what you asked, but I think it's wonderful that we happen to be here at a time when we can see that we aren't at all alone. Eventually, space will have expanded to the point where we can't see any other galaxies, assuming there are still beings on Earth, to even contemplate that possibility, because there won't be time for light to get here. Nothing can travel faster than, but space-time can expand faster than. Our distant descendants will look up into the night sky and see nothing but local stars and a few nearby galaxies. But right now, we know better. We don't know much, but we do know that there's at least one universe, maybe more, that goes on and on and on, full of trillions of galaxies, in all probability, teeming with life. That sense of awe will be much smaller in the distant future, once the distant galaxies are beyond our light cone. We're living in the absolute sweet spot of this universe's evolution, when we know about other galaxies, a mind-blowing concept 100 years ago, and can see we're not alone. In the blink of a cosmic eye, that knowledge will be lost. We're very lucky. Story 5. Betelgeuse, an unstable red giant star that sits 642 light years away, is at the very end of its life cycle and is expected to go supernovas anytime now. Its luminosity is fluctuating wildly in its current state, and the star will ultimately go supernova and form a stellar mass black hole once it does. Had our solar system been closer to this star, the supernova would likely trigger a mass extinction event via gamma ray bursts on Earth. Fortunately, we're far enough away for the supernova to not pose any significant threat to Earthbound life. Story 6. The universe came from somewhere or always existed. Maybe our brains are wired to comprehend things from having a point A to B, a universe that has to start from something. But what if there's a concept that exists that we can't or haven't yet been able to comprehend? We can't imagine anything original if the concept or foundation hadn't existed before. I reckon we should all just agree on one of those two extremes and end it there. Tip our fedoras, shake hands, and just accept one of those to exist. and never discuss the universe ever again so I don't have nightmares. Even better, remember those times when we didn't have facts and relied on observable interpretations? What was that? Religion? Yeah, let's do that again. Story 7. About 95% of the mass that would be required to hold together a galaxy is missing. We don't know what it is. It does not matter that we can see or interact with it, and it does not interact with electromagnetic waves in any way we can recognize. This is called dark matter. Even in the Milky Way, stars, exoplanets, or any matter made of our table of elements makes up only 5% of the galaxy. Pretty spooky that 95% of everything is stuff we can't interact with, let alone have any idea about what it is. Story 8. Physically traveling in space at a high speed causes time dilation, which causes the traveler to have time move more slowly for them, causing them to move forward in time. If we increase the speed, we increase the rate of dilation, which means that any travel we do, if done physically, without the use of portals or wormholes, the travelers would return to possibly a dead planet or a future Earth, where they are actually the ancient ones. Flipping this onto alien visits would either mean they have control of this or access to timegate or portal technology, hence why visits from UFOs and the past ancient cave paintings show the same type of ships or similar designs, even though they are thousands of years apart. Story 9. The Dark Forest Concept of Technological Supremacy and Vulnerability. Great book series starting with The Three-Body Problem by Tixin Liu. To butcher the concept for summary's sake, it's that technology has an infinite progression for malevolent and benevolent planets. If your location is known to another civilization on another planet, they have an insurmountable advantage, assuming they don't implode themselves. You can never truly know the intent of the other hunter in the forest. But if you have a fire and camp set up, everyone will assume you are naive and easy pickings, and based on game theory, should strike first if able before you are able to advance your technology to fight them. Just like colonialism and imperialism, if there are civilizations out there, their best course of action is to skip the whole Star Trek exploration, boldly going mantra, and go straight to the assimilate. Humans are easy prey due to our non-unified goals of becoming an intergalactic species. Our natural evolution given gamma-ray bursts, micronova, and all the crazy world-ending asteroids or sun farts that can Stone Age us, or worse. Story 10. Galaxies collide all the time. You would think that when that happens, the billions of stars within them collide too, right? Highly unlikely, actually. There is so much space between stars, it is almost incomprehensible. If you wanted to make a scale model using a beach ball as an average star, you would have to place one in Los Angeles, one in Chicago, and one in New York. When another galaxy collides, it would be statistically like dripping 2 to 5 more beach balls in the US. They might come close enough for their gravity to interact, but they will likely not come close. Story 11, that it's incomprehensibly big and ever expanding. Can't remember the exact amount, but it grows an astronomical amount every second. Plus, we will never see it. It will take that much longer for that light to reach us that we have left to live before our own sun cooks us. Plus, we are just carbon-based life forms. Imagine how much material is out there just waiting to be formed or already formed. With how big the universe is, it is very possible that somewhere out there, there's a society with an identical version of you, doppelganger theory, living in life completely obvious of you or anything else in the universe, and vice versa. Plus, there could be shut out that can kill all of us in the blink of an eye, and we would never know it existed or would never see it coming. Story 12. Black holes are pretty terrifying. There is no way to escape them once you get so close to them. Nothing at all in the universe can escape them, and you will just be slowly pulled closer and closer until your very atoms are ripped apart and you no longer exist in any way, in any form. And we also have no idea where all the matter goes that gets sucked into a black hole. Is it just gone forever? Is it jammed into a microscopically tiny ball? Does it get shot out somewhere else in space? We have no idea. Story 13. The universe is expanding at a rate in which there are 2 points that are terribly sad. The first, which will happen after the Milky Way and Andromeda galaxies combine, is that all the other galaxies around us will be moving away at such a speed that the light from their stars won't be able to reach us. When we, meaning beings with consciousness, look into the sky, we will only see our galaxy. No others will exist, and it will appear as though our galaxy is the only one in the universe. The second, which we won't be in existence, is when matter moves so far apart that thoughts won't be able to exist. Story 14. The most popular one we know of is the expansion theory, where the universe continually expands. Again, it has been a while. But I believe he said this is due to there being more matter than dark matter. And because of this, there is some point in time where the weak forces won't be strong enough to hold the fabric of the universe together, and everything will be ripped apart. The second scenario is that there is less matter than dark matter, and the universe will collapse into itself after it can no longer expand from the Big Bang. This was interesting. It suggests that the last Big Bang was a result of the old universe collapsing into itself, and the sheer heat energy given off by everything colliding at once caused the Big Bang we think is the first one. It goes to suggest that the universe exists in the cyclical pattern of blowing up and collapsing into itself. Third scenario is that the amount of dark matter and matter are exactly equal, meaning we are set to expand happily until there is some equilibrium met that some ridiculous equation showed. It was when my professor explained this that he also said, this is why many astronomers think the universe is a sphere, where the further you go in one direction, eventually you'll end up where you started. Similar concept as circumnavigation. Story 15, we all know that space is vast. Because of its vastness, many things in it are inconceivably massive in scale. So great that even our closest analogies do a comically bad job of illustrating just how massive of a scale these cosmic phenomena are on. That being said, this planet we all see from our perspectives as this massive thing is, by comparison, an utter insignificance. Each of us are even less so. I say all this because there are so many ways we could be completely obliterated by some random, indifferent cosmic force, and in all our achievements, there would be absolutely nothing we could do about it, even if we saw it coming. A burst of radiation could fry us in an instant. A rogue planet, star, or black hole could tear us apart like paper or something even greater that we have yet to even dream of. As great as humanity likes to imagine ourselves, we could be erased from existence in an instant by a cold, uncaring universe. Story 16. It's quite common to think that the universe is infinite, but when it comes to really high numbers, such as an infinite number, some really funky stuff is bound to happen. Let's say that you are playing poker and you get a certain hand. Let's say a royal straight flush. A very good hand, but also very rare. If you play for an infinite amount of time, you will eventually get that same hand again. It might take minutes, hours, or even years, but eventually you will get those same cards again. So if we compare that to the universe being infinite, things will repeat itself over and over. So if the universe is infinite, there are other people, just like us, doing the exact same thing as we are doing now. Same names, same parents, same history. Everything is. I kind of like the idea that we are never really alone. If you feel sad or happy and you have no one to share it with, then remember that there's probably someone exactly like you feeling the exact same thing. If so, then you have people that always know how you feel. The best friends in galaxies far, far away. Story 17. When they were outside the protective magnetic field of Earth, Apollo astronauts reported seeing blue-white streaks and flashes across their vision every few minutes. The flashes occurred no matter the light level, and even when their eyes were closed. At least one astronaut reported their sleep being disturbed by the flashes. It was concluded that cosmic rays were hitting their heads. We don't know if the rays were hitting their eyes and stimulating the retina, entering their eyes and glowing as they passed through the fluid inside the eye, or entering the brain and stimulating the visual centers directly. Story 18. Starquakes are a real thing. The crust of neutron stars can sometimes shift, producing an effect like an earthquake. However, it's many, many orders of magnitude more powerful than anything that can occur here on Earth. The strongest one ever recorded was the equivalent of a 22 on the Richter scale. Starquakes emit immense gamma ray flares. If this one had occurred within 10 light years of Earth, we would all be dead. Yep. If a magnitude 22 starquake occurs within 58.79 trillion miles of Earth, it could kill us. Sleep tight. Story 19. Astronomers here. Perhaps too late to this party, but when two black holes collide, they can convert several stellar masses into energy. This is an insane amount of energy, more than is being used up in the rest of the universe at the moment they collide and gets vaporized instantly. But we don't think this releases any light in any part of the spectrum. What it does do, though, is release a massive amount of gravitational waves, which we have now detected for the first time this year, twice. That isn't the mind-blowing part to me, though. The part that is where, before these black holes collide, simulations tell us they orbit each other about 75 times per second. My mind always breaks a little trying to imagine that. Story 20. The planets orbit the sun, but the sun is also orbiting the center of the galaxy, and the galaxy is actually moving relative to other superclusters of galaxies. This means our solar system is better represented not as concentric rings, but as multiple helices streaking through space. So at any given moment, you are in a brand new bit of space that you'll never be in again. Also, given the vast emptiness of space, you, and maybe a few photons and neutrinos, are almost certainly the only things that have ever been or ever will be in that part of space for the rest of time. Also, space and time are essentially linked. So if you were to travel back in time, you'd actually be in empty space on a collision course with Earth. If you traveled into the future, you'd actually end up millions of miles behind Earth in empty space. Story 21. Jupiter is so massive compared to everything else in the solar system besides the sun that it has a very real, very profound gravitational pull on the sun. How profound, you ask? Firstly, let's go over the basics. All matter in the universe with mass has gravity, from hydrogen atoms to the largest black holes. And as a result, all matter has a gravitational pull on things close enough to affect. So naturally, the Earth is pulling on the sun, just like the sun pulls on the Earth, albeit the sun's gravity, obviously, is magnitudes more powerful. However, due to this fundamental rule, the center of gravity between the Earth and Sun is not the very dead center of the core of the Sun, but ever so slightly off center. Jupiter's gravitational pull on the Sun is so powerful. The center of gravity, the actual term is escaping me, between the two is 1.07% solar radii away from the Sun's core, or roughly 7% of the Sun's radius away from the surface. Story 22. Do you know that when you look at a planet and you see that planet's not even there? That's just a light. That's just your neighbor shining a flashlight into your yard, looking for coons. And he says, "What are you doing in my backyard with that flashlight?" And I told him, I'm shining in the window so I can teach your son about the universe." He said, "Get out of my yard, and why are you communicating with my son? Why are you all black behind my bushes shining a light into my house?" And I said, "I'm teaching your son about the universe. I'm shining a light right in there and exploring his room as he's looking out and exploring the universe." I turn the light off and I see your son go to bed, and I turn the light back on and I swirl on his wall like a comet's tail. I do this every night with your Story 23. The most astounding fact is the knowledge that the atoms that comprise life on Earth, the atoms that make up the human body, are traceable to the crucibles that cooked light elements into heavy elements in their core under extreme temperatures and pressures. These stars, the high mass ones among them, went unstable in their later years. They collapsed and then exploded, scattering their enriched guts across the galaxy. Guts made of carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and all the fundamental ingredients of life itself. These ingredients become part of gas clouds that condense, collapse, form the next generation of solar systems, stars with orbiting planets. And those planets now have the ingredients for life itself. So when I look up at the night sky, I know that yes, we are a part of this universe. We are in this universe, but perhaps more important than both of those facts is that the universe is in us. When I reflect on that fact, I look up. Many people feel small because they're small and the universe is big, but I feel big because my atoms came from those stars. There's a level of connectivity that's really what you want in life. You want to feel connected, you want to feel relevant, you want to feel like you're a participant in the going on of activities and events around you. That's precisely what we are, just by being alive. Story 24. The universe is expanding at a speed we will never be able to even come close to reaching. Our local galactic group contains the Milky Way galaxy and the Andromeda galaxy, which are set to collide in a few million years. But everything outside our local galactic group is gradually expanding further and further away from us, meaning we will no longer be able to observe a single thing in the universe outside of our local galactic group. So eventually we are going to be completely isolated in an ever-expanding universe, and we'll never be able to see any part outside our local galaxy ever again. Seems terrifying to me, Story. 25. There are rogue planets that are not bound to any solar system. These planets just orbit the galactic center, hurtling through outer space with nothing but distant stars to light them, and their own geology and atmosphere to warm them. These planets can sometimes be formed as part of a solar system, but then get ejected due to gravitational effects, or collisions, which are sort of the same thing, right? When I think about this concept, I can't help but think of the Earth becoming rogue in the centuries-long diminishment of humanity as plants die off and surface life withers. Earth's atmosphere and geology would probably allow the oceans to stay liquid, but the days would get darker and colder and gradually shade into an eternal night that lasts until the end of the universe. Story 26. I know a few. Only 5% of the total mass energy of the universe is matter that we can see or detect. The rest is dark matter and dark energy. All quantum interactions produce matter and antimatter in equal quantities due to various conservation rules. However, at some point after the Big Bang, an unknown force violated this rule and led to an imbalance towards matter in the order of 1 part in 30 million. If it weren't for this unknown force, then all matter would have been annihilated instantly. A teaspoon of a neutron star would weigh 900 times more than the Great Pyramid in Egypt. The expansion of the universe causes all EM waves propagating in space to increase in wavelength and therefore reduce in energy. Eventually, in the distant future, most sources of interstellar EM radiation will become so faint that they will be undetectable. There will come a time when humans, we are still around, will look to the skies and see no evidence of the universe out there, just an empty darkness, not as on topic, but a favorite of mine. The speed of light through direct measurement had been known for a while before Maxwell's equations, 4 equations governing the behavior of electromagnetism, were developed. These equations can be used to calculate the velocity of an EM wave in a particular medium. Using constants corresponding to a vacuum, scientists calculated a speed and realized that it was identical to the speed of light that had been known for so many years. This was the first inclination that light was a wave, and it was discovered by accident. I think it's a great example of how neatly connected everything in our universe is and how majestic all the mathematics is that describes it.